Hey y'all, how we doing tonight? Good food? All right. So firstly, thank you to each and every one of you for coming out tonight and putting up with the struggle of trying to navigate this massive campus. Hope your walk wasn't too far. I just want to go ahead and take a minute here to thank my support system here, Double Tanti Shutika, Lisa Gilman, and Carolee Dawn McKay, my advisors and academic saviors, as I like to call them. But the biggest shout out here goes to Folklore Roundtable, an on-campus organization whose mission is to bridge the folklore academic program and students interested in the vernacular and everyday lore of us, the people. These are also the money people, so you can go ahead and clap for them. All right, so I guess I should go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Ozzy Whitley, for those of you that don't know me. I am a master's student here in the folklore program, with my research lying at the intersection of Appalachian Studies and public folklore, which is exactly what this event is intended to be. But we won't talk about school tonight, promise. I had class today, so if you just got done teaching a class, we don't need to go here. So anyway, this event here is very dear to me, and I hope it is to you too. I suppose it is, because otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here on a random Thursday night right at the tail end of happy hour. My goal here is to bring you to Appalachia and DC. This isn't a classroom. I want you to take a minute and look around, right? In that corner, we've got Knoxville, Nashville, Memphis, Galax, and Bristol, Tennessee, and Southwest Virginia. We've got the Smokies and Shenandoah National Park. And the mountains, they sing, and you hear them echo right off the hills into the hollers and into the valleys. In that corner, we've got Cincinnati, Detroit, Indianapolis, and Chicago. We've got that hard, driving blues sound that only a cold Midwestern winter can provide. Over here, we've got Georgia and the Carolinas, which is where I'm from, throwing some soul, also the sounds of a displaced people. And over here, we've got West Virginia and Kentucky, storytelling sounds from the coal mines from a dispossessed people. Sounds of grief, pain, and loss, but also of love, joy, family, and hope. And right here, we've got the nation's capital. We've got DC, we've got Baltimore, we've got Eastern Shore, Maryland. This is the bluegrass hub in the United States, the largest and most active bluegrass scene in the entire country since the 1930s. Though that's kind of calmed down a little bit, but we'll get into that later. So I spent hours upon hours researching Appalachian music, from bluegrass to ballads, from old-time country to contemporary. What I can tell you about these sounds, about these instruments, about these lyrics is that they're hard driving. There's soul, there's humor, there's love, and there's lots of hard work. I hope to transform this room into a different place tonight and show y'all something that exists right here, right now, and in this very city. Now I have the pleasure of introducing Bruce Miller and Sean Franco. Sean Franco here is a fiddler who's immersed himself in archival recordings of the older players and specializes in tunes from Virginia, Kentucky, and West Virginia. And right over here, we've got Mr. Bruce Miller, who plays banjo, guitar, and fiddle, and has been part of the old-time festival scene for many years. He also teaches college writing and writes articles about all types of music. Now, I want y'all to sit back, kick your feet up, and enjoy the sounds that these guys are about to bring you. And then afterwards, please stick around for an informal Q&A section where we'll get to learn more about these guys and what it is they do.
Well, we should probably find two. You want to play Waynesboro?
Yeah, let's play. think I've ever had that many people clap for
Yeah.
this. So, I don't know about you.
Oh.
Look, there's Wade Ward.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Wade Ward up there.
All
Oh my
right.
gosh.
Really good banjo player, by the way.
So, like, as you can see, like, these are some fiddle tunes played on the violin. The only difference is between a violin and a fiddle is that a fiddle has strings, not strings. You know, that's what they say. And we have, I had to go
I didn't
there.
know you did that.
And we have Bruce here on the banjo, and this is an African instrument that has been developed in the Americas. They had a marrying, so to say, over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, this is true. This one has only developed so much before it kind of started falling apart again, but it still plays really well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for another one, that's for sure. What are we doing, man?
Well, we'll play another tune to show us. Okay, do you want to play the Newport breakdown?
All right, let's play that. North Carolina tune.
Yeah, here's a North Carolina tune, centered from. There's a diaspora of. There's a community of fiddlers around Asheville, in the early 1900s, and we recorded them before they died in the 1960s and 70s, and a lot of them had connections to the Cherokee Reservation in Cherokee County then. This is a tune that you only really find it there. I
don't
haven't
know.
encountered it anywhere else.
I don't either. You said Mango Sneed does it too? Or?
Well, right, but he lives on the reservation.
Okay, so he was another one. That's right. That's right. Yeah, he was half Cherokee.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the recordings they made before they died were much better than the ones they made them after they. Those were not quite as lively.
And from this movement of the 60s and 70s and 80s, to the extent recording these pre-1900 born musicians and their cultures in various areas, it's just very different sounds than what we hear today, and it's really cool that we captured a piece of it. So
The importance of folklore, y'all.
yeah. some other things about this music is that you may notice, my gosh, they kind of cycle through the tune. It's kind of maybe repetitive if you don't like it or whatever.
Or even if you do like it, it's repetitive.
Yeah, it's repetitive.
Very
It kind
much.
of all sounds the same. Well, this is community music. This is dance music. So a lot of times, like, you play this for dance, square dance, and in your local community. And 100 years ago, they do, like, if you have some community event, like shucking corn or what have you, they have this as like a party at the end, and you have food like that to bring community. So it's definitely a little different, you know, sitting up here playing it and saying, all right, let's play another one in G, and so it really has a strong sense of community. And these different communities were so fragmented of how they played. Maybe they had some influences of institutions like Western classical music or commercial recordings, or what they hear on the radio, or books if they had that. But a lot of times it was just a mix of that and, well, I played this tune, I made it this way, and I just like it. So it's more anarchical in this sense, less institutional. Folk music in general. Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What's happening?
Well, we should probably play another tune.
All right, let's do that.
Do what?
You'll notice that one of the things Shauna brought up is the keys, you know, like, so old time tunes. You'll notice, first of all, we're not really singing, so if y'all came in here for bluegrass, are y'all getting disappointed? But, you know, it's like the banjo player will often, oh shoot, we're going to D, and then you'll start seeing the tuning going on, which is, you know, bluegrassers don't do that. They don't need to do that, I guess. But, you know, there's certain keys that a lot of this stuff's going to be in, and some of the reason it sounds repetitious and maybe even like, didn't they just play that one? Is because we'll ride out a key for a long time, and as far as I'm concerned, G is the place to be. Those other keys are fine, but if they didn't exist, I'd be all right.
Yeah, and there's also a sort of like a trance in a sense, where if you're dancing or having some circle dance or what have you, and you're playing a tune for 10 minutes straight, of course there will be differences. You'll get tired probably at the end of the 10 minutes. But also as the audience or the dancer participant, you'll notice some, at least I notice at square dances and contra dances, when you loop the tune, like you get into the rhythm or the pulse of it. So in a lot of ways it taps into that, these old communities. That's why it's kind of repetitive and
I
fun.
love that loop in the tune where you just get a DJ. I mean, it's band anymore.
Yeah, like sometimes we go to jams and we
Mountain
play in 10
techno.
minutes. Yeah.
All right, let's play one, man.
Yeah. Do you wanna get on guitar? Maybe
What
we
do you
could
got?
do
What are you
the-
thinking?
I'm thinking the Garfields.
Oh yeah, man, definitely. Let's definitely do that.
So another thing about this music, like the convergence of myth and reality, history, it's very hard to say. But this tune that we're going to play next is from a group of fiddlers in northeastern Kentucky.
Which is this part of the room. by
I
the
guess
way.
so.
So we're right at home.
Yeah.
If we play anything from Detroit, we've got to go.
We gotta go over there. And it was recorded in a field recording in 1937 from Alan Lomax, who's a prolific field recorder. And this fiddler, Ed Morrison, claims that his father in the Civil War heard it while he was a Union soldier enlisted with General John Hunt Morgan as he was going through East Kentucky. And he says he never got the name, but he heard him whistle it. I mean, we don't know if this is true, could be a myth, but
That's
he
what's
played
fun
it
about this.
on the fiddle and claims this, and a few other fiddlers in the area also in that era played it as well, and it's now become a bluegrass standard. But I'll try to play it like Ed Morrison played it. So this is Garfield's Blackberry Blossom. Supposedly he gave it this title when he saw him spit out his chaw in a blackberry bush.
Yeah, as you do. All right. About sometimes playing with Sean is because like he's working away, I'm over playing one chord. You know, it's pretty good trade-off as far as actually there was two chords in there. Never mind.
Yeah, it was two.
The other one's kind of a passing chord. There were some times where I didn't really actually play it. I implied it. Y'all heard it, even if I didn't play it.
Yeah, so like going back to the prior subject of, we have a lot of these old figures. They were recorded at some point, a lot of them in the 60s and 70s. And this coincided with another movement, you could say the hippie movement, but really it started with the beatniks in the 1950s who wanted a different style of life. They wanted something that's had the values of community and creativity. And mainstream hippie movement in the 70s, the people who went around and recorded these old people before they died and learned these tunes and still play to this day. They're becoming the old people now at the festivals. That those two germinated values of community and creativity, not just with fiddle, but maybe they do poetry or plays. You see this at the festivals. People are very inclusive. They say, oh, come on in, I don't know you, but there's a safe space here. Everybody's very polite, courteous, and
What festival is
opening.
that? You go to that?
You know that festival?
When is this ever? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like the last generation to learn off the old people too. I mean, you know, it was,
Yeah.
you know, like if you ever take a workshop from somebody like, I don't know, who are we talking about, Bruce Green or Dave Bing or some of these folks, you know, they were,
Yeah.
Jerry Milne, some of these guys are like the last of that hung with the old guys, you know, the guys that we look at as the archival players now. And you hear a bunch of fiddle players geeking out on, yeah, I play Melvin Wine's version, well, I play Burl Hammond's version. It's because all those guys approach these things a little bit differently, even if they were the same tune. And, you know, there's homogenization that would happen to anything once all that gets knocked out of it for the sake of bigger groups of people to play together. And that makes total sense, but sometimes it's nice to, when I met Sean, to hear somebody who was concerned about playing them the way they kind of go as far as I'm concerned. I was like, oh, I like this guy.
Well,
Play
yeah.
music with him.
Yeah, I mean, I just like to have a certain sound. You know, I try to work for that sound as a creative expression. But you don't want to have the sound, that's okay.
It is. It's
and that's
all
what's
good.
great about this, that there's no canon dictating you must do this, or an institution saying, well, you must idolize this and use this technique. It's really, what direction do you want to take it? Very anarchical. But it has this, as we saw with the early hippie movement, and when they had kids and they imparted these values and also the curiosity of learning and creativity. When you go to the festivals, you see so many people who want to discuss politics or discuss fine art and philosophy, and they're very well versed and educated in it, and it's so tied to the core values of having a community of some sort, which is the fiddling community, I guess we can call it now, and expression of artistic value, and recognize that in other people, and get together and jam, and it gives a medium for that exchange.
What you got, man?
Yeah, I've been talking a lot. Let's see. Oh, should we do the schottish?
Oh yeah, that's C10. Yeah, let's do it. Like this is another one where Sean will be working really hard, and I'll be over here playing 3 chords. 3, count them.
You got
3
one
chords.
more extra than
But every
last
now and
time.
then I might not make the 3rd chord, or I might kind of like play the G or the C here, and then kind of make the F and kind of make the G, but not really move that finger much because like why would you? All right, anyway.
Yeah. So,
But Sean will be.
well, we'll see. Maybe I'll tone it back.
You just wait and see, y'all. You'll see what I'm talking about.
So, like, another thing of this old music, since it's from these archival recordings, or at least that's what I'm interested in, is that they have like different tune types. Like you can have something in a reel that's like really fast paced. You can have something a little slower, and it's associated with different dances. And here's a dance called a schottish, and it's kind of like a skipping dance. It's kind
Feel
of,
free to.
well,
Get out of those
I
seats.
need a partner to do
No,
it.
we're playing. I'm not skipping around with this $1,800 guitar.
So anyway, you'll notice this hopping sound to it, and as you form communities, they kind of become well versed in like, oh, it should sound like this if it's this classification. And we see this in modern day, like, oh, this is this song, I'm kind of out of the loop, but oh, it should sound like this, or you have expectation as a listener. So here's one of that. It's just a schottish you see in the Midwest. subject of the Hammonds, such a prolific family, and if you want to really talk about Appalachian and kind of what it represents, that's a good family to choose, at least in the frame of music. I'll just do a quick solo piece.
Oh, I don't get
Comes
well,
from-
I'm gonna sit over in a couch. Make funny faces.
You know which one I'm going to choose?
I don't. Which one is it?
Shaking Down the Acres.
Oh, I'd fiddle that.
Oh, you know it?
Yeah, but I bet we play it differently.
I think so.
Even though we both probably calling Ed and
Yeah.
or Burl for the source of
I
it.
think, yeah.
Hey, there's all Hammonds. They were like the last frontier people, man. You
Yeah.
know. But there's an accent up by the Williams River in Pocahontas County that doesn't sound like even the rest of Pocahontas County. I remember the first time I went up there, rode my bicycle up to see my friend Pam Lunn, who lives in a shack up there and plays tunes. And this was in the 90s, you know, and like I met some of these folks, and I'm like, whoa, that's the same accent on those Burl Sherman Hammonds records. But I'd never heard anybody talk like that other than them, so that's
Yeah.
kind of cool. I imagine that's still the case.
I-
Yeah, that was play that.
Yeah,
Shake Down the Acres.
it seems like it's a place just kind of lost in time in some ways, but this is from the Hammonds family. The Ed Hammond's a prolific fiddler, and he's just playing the tune "Shaking Down the Acre." That wasn't too long.
Oh no, I was really digging. And now for my solo tune. I'm waiting to hear what you do next to
Well,
determine which of these things.
What do you think we should?
That banjo kind of been sitting there a while.
Yeah, it's been
Like,
sitting there.
It's in G though.
We could
Okay.
go to G. I
All
guess
right.
we could switch.
I mean, I can retune.
Well, we can do one or few in G, and then get out of that since it's a hassle.
And I don't know what time we're dealing with here. We could play pretty much for the rest of the night.
Yeah,
but-
you'll have to stop. One more.
Yeah.
All right.
One more. It's a good thing I pulled this banjo back out then. It's been neglected.
Yeah. So which one do you think, Bruce?
I don't know, man. What about our French Carpenters, Cotton Eye Joe or that old Aunt Jenny?
Should we do the Cotton Eye Joe since we practiced it?
Yeah, this time I might get it right. Yeah. Going to Clay County, West Virginia, to do some stuff from French Carpenter, a fiddler there that you'll hear people talk about. And if you're lucky enough, you'll see somebody driving down the road with a bumper sticker that says, "My boss is a French carpenter." I'm not kidding. I have a friend that has that. There's only so many people that are going to get that. But if you see it, now you'll know. You're like, oh, that's a fiddler. All right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Yeah,
being
man.
here, and-
Thanks. It looks like most of you are still here, too.
I understand we have a Q&A after this, and
Except we've already said everything.
I know.
Oh, we have questions.
I bet you do. All right, man. Go for it. I'll jump in.
guys. That was
Thank you all
great.
for
Another round of applause. All right, so while we're going into this little informal Q&A session, please grab more food. There's so much back there, so help yourselves. I'm going to go ahead and kick this off, though. Could you guys tell me, both of you, a little bit about how was it you got into this kind of music and why here in this area?
Well, I didn't get into it in this area. I got into it doing archaeology work. We were talking about this earlier. And, I mean, I'll try to make this story as short as I can without leaving out the actual story part of it. I was on an archaeology crew, and we were staying in a hotel in Huntington, West Virginia. And there was a woman on the crew named, why have I forgotten her name? But anyway, she was from Canada. She was from Vancouver. And she was dating this guy named Tim Cottle. I didn't know him, and he came over with a banjo and started playing that kind of thing. I was like 28, and I was a record collector and all this, and I just never thought I'd care about this. It kind of blew my mind. And I went south for a bit, I think, had a trip to Costa Rica planned or something, and I came back after a month and called him and said, "Do you think you can teach me that if we get me a banjo?" And he said, "Yeah." And so that's how it happened. And I didn't realize at the time that there were festivals. Like, he'd take me to see some old people, and I thought there were like 20 people that cared about this. I'm like, whoa, I'm in on something really secretive. Then I went to Mount Airy Festival and saw people from Japan playing, and I'm like, never mind. But I still liked it anyway, even if everybody else knew about it. But that's how I got into it, and that was in the mid-90s. I've just kind of held on to it ever so loosely.
Yeah, basically, I had I think I was a teenager, and I lived in rural Virginia, and I had a neighbor who actually was one of the few old timers, and he played banjo, and he played it in the overhand style, which is kind of an easy classification to say, oh, they play old-timey music, and he associated with those terms, and he only played maybe 30 tunes. And he definitely played it his way. So I just learned fiddle to play with him, and I really enjoyed it. And YouTube opened my eyes for the possibilities of this music when I researched it more, and I just thought, wow, this is so great. And I had also learned about it as well from, like, when you're a teenager, you like different types of music and you explore, and really enjoyed like 1920s early blues, mainly from Mississippi Delta and North Georgia region. And from that, I really got into researching the fiddle, and the values of the community align with what I like. I like community. I like artistic expression. And meditative after work to play tunes. So, what more can you want?
Thank you. All right, you guys got questions?
About fiddle playing. So, did you all play violin before you played fiddle?
You'd know if I had a class.
Well, this is what I asked.
My
because
intonation would be
Did
better.
you all know Speedy Tolliver?
I
You did it?
know.
You know who that is?
Yeah, I know. I play a tune of his.
Yeah.
He's in Arlington.
He's passed away.
Yeah.
But so when I first moved here, I met him, and he would teach people fiddle. And I always asked him, because I knew that some people actually start with classical and then they move into
There's a lot of that these
Right,
days,
and he
especially.
said that he would much rather have someone who's just never picked one up.
Yeah.
Because the techniques are different, and I just was wondering if he would talk about that. Because I was noticed the way that you hold your instrument down on your chest.
That's the old people way.
You don't even have the thing to put.
He doesn't
put
even
your
have,
chin
no,
on,
he doesn't have a
you
chin
know.
This
rest.
thing.
Right.
But I must say, I don't do it just because it's old. I do it because I like it. Because of the other thing. It's not right in my ear.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear this loud thing right in my ear. That's how you get tinnitus.
Oh, that's what I seriously, I'm wearing hearing aids now, and I'm certain
You have to be careful.
it's from that.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're playing classical violinist in the modern style, you of course you have the chin rest and all this equipment. But when you move your bow, for example, to get from the high string to the low string, you have to move it like here. Whereas if I'm here, I'm not really moving much.
Yeah.
I just move the fiddle. So
Cheater.
there's practicality to it. And I can see it too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just comfort.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what Sean was talking about earlier, like naming all, we were talking about all these old fiddlers, none of these people came from a classical music background, and I think a lot of them are playing this music because there wasn't any choices. I mean, that's what there was. And some of these guys go back before radio, you know, and somebody was fortunately recorded them at some point in the mid-20th century. Some of them lived, you know, until the 70s and 80s or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that to me, like when I hear that, I'm like, well, that's fiddling. Like, no offense to people that play classical and can just turn around and play beautifully, you know. I mean, I wouldn't mind being able to try that out, I guess, but I'm not going to go back and learn classical violin just so I can be a better old town fiddler.
Yeah.
Said no one
Seems a
ever.
little backwards.
What's also interesting with classical music, whether you learn, most people learn, if they learn young, they learn through Suzuki or some other method that really emphasizes ear training, which is probably a good idea, and to understand that literature and be a better musician. But another thing is when they cross over to fiddling world, my impression is that you can find some fiddling tunes that are irregular with a strange chord that you may not intuitively place or interpret, or irregular in the sense that they'll literally add another beat.
Crooked is the term.
They call it crooked.
Yeah.
Or subtract a beat. And there are certain tunes that have these qualities. The people that come from the pipeline of classical training, which is to say they had institutional, I can't think of another term than brainwashing, but
They've ruined old time fiddling.
but they come from that perspective. That informs what they play, and
It's true.
they typically
Yeah.
don't play the crooked tunes.
No, the crooked tunes are like, oh, that's crooked.
They
And
play-
half my repertoire is crooked. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
what do you do?
So we
Play
see
alone
this-
a lot.
Yeah, we see this dynamic happen where at the jams where perhaps some other setting they play more crooked tunes, they're familiar with it. Maybe not all the jams are familiar or comfortable with it musically, and they'd rather play different styles. This is also why the Missouri River Valley, the Midwest style, there's not really crooked tunes there. It's very standardized with the chords. It was literally written in books, even in 1850s, that people have been propagating and playing. And a lot of the Suzuki or pipeline violinists gravitate towards that repertoire because it's familiar to what they already know. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's interesting to see. Pipeline Suzuki, just as one example. You know, you have to be, I think you have to look at it as the humanity aspect. You're here to socialize, to make friends, meet people, share the common bond of creativity and what did I say before? Community.
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, yeah.
I think
what
that's
I'm
good. It's
saying.
really true. Yeah.
And
Different thing.
so when that happens, like, all right, well, I can't play this. You know, I'm in a community. I can't play a crooked tune unless
I'm there.
they're introduced to it or what have you, and are versed in that. And you have to support other people. You know, what if someone's playing fiddle for 6 months from violin? They love it. They're so happy. You got to support that.
Yeah, it's good to either have another repertoire to play at the jams or have another instrument.
And most
You
people
know.
are social with it. Like, I must say, like, I come from artists, a family of artists. My dad's an oil painter professionally, so I definitely understand the artistic realm to this. But a lot of it's just social. You cannot poo-poo that parade.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, just go with the flow. As of now, I typically play alone because I'm working and I go to grad school and I don't have much time. So I don't have much time to jam, really. But when I graduate, I'll definitely be going to the jams more.
Thank you. Yeah, future?
When you're talking in between songs, you have a lot of knowledge about, like, you know, the kind of history of music, the archival records, and I'm curious. So I have that knowledge, but not about this type, not about old time music. It was about basically British, Irish, and Scottish
wish I knew that stuff too.
So I'm like familiar with archival records and stuff, but like when I was a kid, it was like if there was a ship on the cover of that Smithsonian Folkways album, that's the one.
Yeah, right.
But so I'm always really curious, and I love like Country Gentlemen. I love like sort of Monroe Brothers and all that. But
Monroe Brothers were good.
I was never, I've never gotten into it like down to that level. You can listen to kind of classic players, some kind of classic records, and know when you mention a tune, you know it. And I'm wondering if you're somebody that is really curious and interested and wants to listen to more old time music and more.
Yeah.
Where do you kind of like? Do you have a favorite some favorite thing you would recommend? Or something?
Yeah, I do.
Just to start out.
I want to see if we have the same answer. Go ahead.
All right, let's say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
Really?
Oh, no, I wasn't going to do that. That's too much. That's too much at once. I was going to
Too much
say,
at once?
if you can get your hands on any kind of a copy of Ernie Carpenter's Elk River Blues album, like if it's like streaming somewhere, which I'm sure it is, that's fiddling, man, that guy. Like I play about 5 or 6 tunes off of that thing. He was a Braxton County fiddler. I would say him. I would say Melvin Wine's Hannah at the Spring House, which I know you can probably stream on Bandcamp. He was another Braxton County, West Virginia fiddler. Like if you're, I mean, these are fiddlers, and I don't mean to assume that's what you were asking about, but if you were,
Oh, I like.
I would listen to those albums like a lot. Yeah, that would be where I'd start.
Sean, what did you say?
Well, I was saying there's a website called Slippery Hill, and it's literally a streaming database of thousands, literally thousands of fiddle tunes attributed by artists, attributed by state. There's about 8 or 10 different tunings of how you'd retune the violin. And what I would encourage you to do is, if you're interested in this, look at the website, just browse it, and like you'll probably see a title that is strange to you. Like, what? You play the hard card and I'll play the ace? What is that? Listen to it, and then you could type in the search and see like, oh, I'm going to type in some classic tune like Arkansas Traveler. And you'll have like 50 million recordings of different times and space, some in early, like some on wax cylinder from 1897, some on, as recent like 1980 of these people, and then you can listen to it, and it really gives you a frame of reference to be versed in this subject, to be like, oh, they're playing it a little differently in this state, or wow, they sound so different. And that's the key of it. It's fragmented, and like I said in the beginning, this is what did I say?
I don't know.
Anarchical. It's anarchical. Everybody plays it a little different, even if it's the same tune.
And that's
the beauty.
Yeah, and that's getting a little lost, I think. So I think it's worth it. But if you don't want to be overwhelmed, I'd start with that Ernie Carpenter and that Milton.
Yeah, you don't want to be overwhelmed.
I'm just
do it
saying.
that way.
Ernie Carpenter.
And some Wade Ward banjo too.
Yeah.
He's the best. He played a small repertoire, kind of more standard tunes, but he killed them.